A predatory female, Trevor Bauer, against Lindsay Hill. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Narcissists come in all shapes and sizes, skin colours, positions, jobs, professions, walks of life, nationalities, and, of course, sexes. There are male narcissists and there are female narcissists, and the split between the two is roughly equal. Whilst there are those that suggest that the majority of narcissists are male, it's not actually accurate. The reason for this is that many female narcissists are misdiagnosed and described as borderlines. See my video, Why the Borderline is Not What You Think, to understand why that happens. When you get rid of that error, you'll find that far more narcissists are actually female. You see, the conventional view of a narcissist is that alpha male individual. He eats what he kills. He's the corporate raider. He has plenty of women on the go. He works out and admires his muscles in the mirror, etc. But as you know from my extensive work, there's a range of different narcissists that exist. I often talk about, in the videos, the narcissist being male. It's simply a term of art to avoid keep going him, her, he, she, etc. The fact is, as I've made it abundantly clear, you'll find plenty of female narcissists, and the Successful Escape series includes individuals who have been involved with female narcissists, both in terms of intimate partner and familial ones also. A predatory female who is a narcissist provides you with a useful way to understand the actions of such an individual. And this has arisen in the case which involves Trevor Bauer and a woman called Lindsay Hill. What has happened is that Mr. Bauer is a former MLB pitcher, and he's been involved in a legal dispute with Lindsay Hill. But it hasn't been until now that he's been able to demonstrate the totality of her manipulative behaviours, her absence of emotional empathy, and various aspects of the narcissistic dynamic. For the first time since being accused of sexual assault, former Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer is speaking about the claims. Claims from both Bauer and his accuser Lindsay Hill have been withdrawn with prejudice, according to lawyers. Bauer, who spent this past season playing in Japan after being cut from the Dodgers, posted an in-depth video showing messages allegedly sent by his accuser. He says that Hill, who accused him, false accusation, of beating and sexually assaulting her, sent messages to a friend saying that he would be her next victim, and asked a friend, "What should I steal?" This exhibits, of course, an absence of emotional empathy and the falsified method of playing the victim. Now, this individual would still believe that she's an actual victim, even though she's talking about the fact that he is the victim. She will play that in order to manipulate him and other people. The fact that she talked about taking money shows that the friend isn't particularly pleasant either, and that she was amenable to such a suggestion because she behaves without accountability and an absence of emotional empathy for Mr. Bauer. After finding out Mr. Bauer's net worth, which was $51 million at the time, Hill said she would try to get some of his money by being an absolute whore to try get in on his $51 million. Now, the money, of course, is a clear residual benefit, and that she stated she would need daddy to choke me out. Namely, in that moment that she was having the text conversation with her friend, she needed to do two things. Two people were on her radar, the friend and Mr. Bauer. Thus, her narcissism caused her to assert control over the friend by saying, "Here's my plan to get money out of him." And at the same time, that would provide a subconscious sense of control over Mr. Bauer when the friend agrees that's a good way to go about it. That's what you should do. Bauer also explained in the video that Hill's AA sponsor asked her if she felt guilty, to which she replied, "Not really." This shows the absence of the facade in such behaviour with regard to the AA sponsor, and the fact that she has no emotional empathy. Note, it's not necessarily a genuine admission that she knows what she is, but simply, like a lesser narcissist would do, she says, "I don't feel guilty. No need to operate a facade." All of the messages and other critical information were deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team, according to Bauer. That also included a video that was recorded by Hill showing herself laying in bed next to the picture as he slept. Bauer says that video was taken by Lindsay Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And the fact is, as can be seen in the video, she hasn't been attacked. She's not emotionally traumatized. She's lying there next to him in bed, filming whilst he sleeps, and you'll see the narcissist smirk as she relishes the fuel that she's imagining as a consequence of this interaction. Bauer explained that he had the metadata, so there can be no dispute that it was taken mere minutes before she left his house on the morning of May the 16th, 2021, without his knowledge or consent. In it, he explains, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. This, of course, demonstrates the short-term nature of her narcissism, that she is so stupid, because her narcissism functions in the moment, that she films him and her, for the purpose of, no doubt, triangulating that interaction with other people. Look, see, here I am sleeping with him. She engages in considering the impact of that and receives thought fuel, which powers her, hence the smirk. But then, of course, at a later juncture, when she seeks to assert control over Mr. Bauer by accusing him falsely, using the manipulation of false accusation in respect of saying that he attacked her, she, of course, or rather her narcissism, forgets that she had filmed this, which demonstrates that he had not attacked her. Once again, the consequential collateral consequences that arrive for a narcissist undoing their attempt to extort this individual. In August of 2021, a judge in Los Angeles Superior Court denied Hill a restraining order, which of itself is quite unusual, saying that Bauer did not coerce her or threaten her into sexual activity. To this end, it would seem that the evidence that she put forward isn't particularly good, and is demonstrative again of her attempt to assert control over Bauer by seeking a restraining order, but not actually having the evidence to support that. Now, says Bauer, some of you might not know about restraining order hearings. I know I didn't. But I've since learned that it's extremely rare for a request for a restraining order to be denied, because the standard of proof that you need to obtain one is extremely low, so you can make of that what you will. He continued, "The fact is, I was never arrested, I was never charged with a crime, and I won the only legal proceeding that took place without my side of the story even being heard. And most importantly, as I've said from day one, I never sexually assaulted Lindsay Hill, or anyone else for that matter. So I sued her, which prompted her to countersue me. Naturally, his step of suing her was a threat to her control, and her narcissism caused her to respond in kind. Quite frankly," he added, "regardless of the outcome in court, I've paid significantly more in legal fees than Lindsay Hill could ever pay me in her entire life, and I knew that would be the case going in. But the lawsuit was never about the money for me. It was the only way for me to obtain critical information to clear my name." Both suits have now been dropped, with neither side paying out monetary compensation of any kind, while Bauer retained his rights to speak about the situation. Over the last 2 years, I've been forced to defend my integrity and my reputation in a very public setting. But hopefully, this is the last time I have to do so, as I'd prefer to just remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games and entertaining fans around the world. So today, I'm happy to be moving on with my life. Whilst, of course, we've heard many times in the news that there are instances of mainly men that behave in a predatory manner towards women, that have taken advantage perhaps of positions of power and influence to behave in a particular way, which is demonstrative of their narcissism. It's also the case, and I mentioned this a number of years ago in relation to the chances that would piggyback the Me Too movement, that there are also predatory female narcissists that use the opportunity to make false accusations about men for the purpose of trying to extort monetary gain. The false accusation is an attempt to assert control over the man, fuel is obtained by way of the responses, and residual benefit is money that might be extorted by way of compensation or payoff. In this instance, Lindsay Hill sought to do the same. She sought to do so because she has a sense of entitlement, no emotional empathy for the man that's affected by her false allegations, a lack of accountability for her behaviours, a grandiosity in believing that her scheme would work, or haughtiness in the way that she's treated people. She shows various manipulative behaviours and aspects of the narcissistic dynamic. It's likely that if were more information were available about her, we'd find that she would be a lesser narcissist. She doesn't appear to operate a facade, her cognitive function appears to be fairly low, and the collateral consequences that have come about were rather shoddy, to say the least. Her scheme seemed to be tissue thin. But it's a useful opportunity for you to understand here how a predatory female narcissist hijacks the victim concept of saying that a man has assaulted her when it never actually happened, and that for an individual to do so, and in the manner of the content of the messages and the money that she sought, is demonstrative of her narcissism. I'm now going to play you the video of Mr. Bauer speaking so you can see more of the messages that were sent and what he also had to say about it. And you can pick from that the various aspects of narcissism in relation to Lindsay Hill.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsay Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. What should I steal? She asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time. The answer? Take his money. So how might that work? I'm going to his house Wednesday, she said. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil, she said. Bitch, you better secure the bag, was the response. But how is she going to do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said. Being an absolute whore to try to get in on his 51 million, read another text. Then, after the second time we met, former Padres pitcher Jacob Nix told her, you got to get this bag. I'll give you 50,000, Lindsay replied. Her AA sponsor asked her at one point, do you feel a tiny bit guilty? Not really, she replied. Since then, her legal team has approached me multiple times about coming to a financial settlement. But as I have done since day one, I refuse to pay her even a single cent. In August of 2021, Lindsay Hill's claims were heard in court. And during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team. Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsay Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021, without my knowledge or consent, of course. In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us. After hearing the evidence available to her, Judge Diana Gold-Saltman found that Lindsay Hill had misled the court. She found her claims to be materially misleading. She denied her request for a domestic violence restraining order, and she found that no sexual assault or non-consensual conduct took place. Now, some of you might not know about restraining order hearings. I know I didn't, but I've since learned that it's extremely rare for a request for a restraining order to be denied because the standard of proof that you need to obtain one is extremely low. So you can make of that what you will. The fact is, I was never arrested. I was never charged with a crime, and I won the only legal proceeding that took place without my side of the story even being heard. And most importantly, as I've said from day one, I never sexually assaulted Lindsay Hill, or anyone else for that matter. So I sued her, which prompted her to countersue me. Quite frankly, regardless of the outcome in court, I've paid significantly more in legal fees than Lindsay Hill could ever pay me in her entire life. And I knew that would be the case going in. But the lawsuit was never about the money for me. It was the only way for me to obtain critical information to clear my name. The discovery process in that lawsuit recently concluded, at which point Lindsay Hill's legal team again came to us with another proposal to resolve the case. This time, however, they weren't seeking any money from me. Having received much of the information that had been hidden from us, a small portion, of which I've referenced here, I was willing to agree to the terms proposed. Both parties would drop their respective lawsuits, and neither of us would pay either side any money. I also retained my right to speak publicly about the case, something I have not been at liberty to do since June of 2021. So, as of today, both lawsuits have been settled. Now, over the last 2 years, I've been forced to defend my integrity and my reputation in a very public setting. But hopefully this is the last time I have to do so, as I'd prefer to just remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games and entertaining fans around the world. So today, I'm happy to be moving on with my life.
There you have an example of a predatory female narcissist that has made her way into the relationship with Mr. Bauer, has undoubtedly utilized sex as a means to manipulate him, and then thereafter, because of the fact that he's wealthy, has sought to utilize her manipulations, her lack of emotional empathy, her sense of entitlement to extract that money from him, albeit on this occasion, unlike many others, her scheme failed. She lacked the evidence to support the allegations that she put forward, failing in court, and then ultimately leading to a situation where her claims have had to be withdrawn, where she attempted to countersue Mr. Bauer. A useful lesson of how certain females behave, and of course, driven by her narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for watching.